section 6-3, and in this section we are using the given facts to prove that a quadrilateral is a parallelogram. So in the last section we learned about all of the properties of parallelograms. Now we're proving it. Is it or is it not a parallelogram based off of what they're giving us? So any of the following methods could be used. So the first one is really the definition of a parallelogram. If both pairs of opposite sides are parallel, then the quadrilateral is a parallelogram. So basically, let me just draw that real quick. So if this side and this side are parallel, and this side and this side are parallel, then it's a parallelogram. Then for number 2, if both pairs of opposite sides of a quadrilateral are congruent, then a quadrilateral is a parallelogram. So if this is 4 centimeters and this is 4 centimeters and this is 5 centimeters and this is 5 centimeters, then it makes it a parallelogram. The next one is if one pair of opposite sides of a quadrilateral are congruent and parallel, then the quadrilateral is a parallelogram. Okay, so one pair of opposite sides has to be congruent and parallel. So if this and this are congruent and those two same lines are parallel, then it's a quadrilateral. Number 4, if the diagonals bisect each other, then the quadrilateral is a parallelogram. So in order for us to know if they bisect each other, then we'd have to know that this and this are congruent and this and this are congruent. And then number 5, if both pairs of opposite angles of a quadrilateral are congruent, then the quadrilateral is a parallelogram. Okay, so opposite angles. So if I knew that this was 40 degrees and this was 40 degrees and this was 140 and this was 140, then yes, it would be a parallelogram. Okay, so then let's use what we learned to determine whether or not each quadrilateral is a parallelogram. So are we given enough information? So for number 1, it's a yes, because these are the diagonals and they have bisected each other, and I can tell that because this and this are congruent and this part and this part are congruent. Now for number 2, it's a no. We don't have enough information. So these arrows mean that this side and this side are parallel to each other, but we also would need to know that both of these are congruent in order for it to be a yes. Number 3 is an automatic yes because opposite angles are congruent. And number 4 is a no because the wrong side is congruent. It would have to be this side is congruent because they're purposely saying that these two are parallel. So that's also a no. And next part, so find x and y so that the quadrilateral is a parallelogram. So we're really still using the same properties from yesterday, from the last lesson. So diagonally, these two angles are congruent. So I'm going to solve 5x plus 29 equals 7x minus 11. Oop, that's an 11. So x equals 20 there. And then same thing diagonally for the y. 5y minus 9 equals 3y plus 15. So we get 2y equals 24, so y equals 12. So we have this one done. Then on this one, we're looking at the diagonals. So again, the parts are congruent because they bisect each other. So we're going to solve negative 4x minus 2 equals negative 3x plus 4. So x equals negative 6. And then for the y, so y equals 13. And for number 9, opposite sides are congruent. So negative 6x equals negative 4x plus 6. So x equals negative 3. And again, opposite sides are congruent. So y equals 2. And then for number 10, we have diagonals again. So this part and this part are congruent to each other, and this part and this part are congruent to each other. So we're going to solve negative 2x plus 6 equals x plus 12. So x equals negative 2. And we're going to solve the y's. Y plus 23 equals negative 4y minus 2. So y equals negative 5.